Honorable to the judges, my name is Zishan Durani Binarafa from SMA Negeri 66 Jakarta. And I, as the speaker from the opposition side, I strongly reject the motion. This House believes that political dynasties bring more harm than good to democracy, and I reject this motion. I believe that political dynasties do not automatically harm democracy. In fact, when balanced with fair systems, strong institutions, and the people's freedoms to choose, they can exist within and even contribute to democratic growth. Let me be clear. I do not deny that political dynasties can be misused, but I also do not believe that all political dynasties are harmful by nature. The core of democracy is not about whether someone is part of a famous political family. It is about whether the people have the freedom to choose, whether elections are fair, and whether the leaders are held accountable. That's the standard we should judge by. Before I begin my arguments, let me define key terms clearly. Political dynasties means a family in which multiple members hold or run for political office, often across generations. Harm to democracy means any action or structure that reduces fairness, transparency, and accountability, or people's ability to vote freely. And democracy means a political system where people choose leaders through elections and where power is limited by laws and institutions. So my stance is simple. Political dynasties can exist in a democracy as long as the rules are fair. The harm comes not from the family name, but from broken systems, corruptions, and lack of accountability. Okay, I'll tell you my first argument. Democracy is about the people's choice. A person's last name should not disqualify them from serving if they are democratically elected. Democracy means the people decides who leads. If voters choose someone from a political family, it doesn't mean democracy has failed. It means voters are exercising their rights. Removing or limiting dynasties is actually more anti-democratic because it takes away the voters' freedom to choose. For example, in the United States, the Bush family produced 2 presidents. In India, the Gandhi family has been in politics for generations. But both families lost elections when the people felt they were no longer suitable. That is the proof that the people still hold the power. So, even when political families are active, democracy is alive as long as the people can say no. My second argument is the real problem is system failure, not family power. Dynasties become dangerous only when the system fails to keep them in check. Political families do not control everything unless institutions like the media, judiciary, and electoral commissions are weak or corrupt. The problem is not the existence of a dynasty. It's when the system allows them to abuse power without consequences. For example, in Indonesia, President Jokowi's son was elected mayor and then appointed as a vice presidential candidate. Many critics worry about a potential dynasty, but people still debate, still protest, and still vote freely. That proves that political dynasties can be questioned and held accountable in a democratic system. So, instead of blaming the dynasty, we should strengthen the system. My third argument is dynasties can offer stability, continuity, and public trust. Not all dynasties are corrupt or greedy. Some have earned the trust of the people through years of honest service. Families who dedicate themselves to public service often know how the government works. They have networks, experience, and long-term commitment. So when people vote for them, it's not just because of their name, but because of what they represent. Like in Japan, the Abe family produced multiple prime ministers. In Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew and his son Lee Hsien Loong both led the country with vision and economic success. So in these cases, dynasties provided stability and strong leadership without destroying democracy. So when voters trust a family based on proven leadership, it is not a weakness. It is a reflection of political maturity. And the proposition team said that political dynasties block competition. I disagree. Only weak systems allow that. In healthy democracies, opposition parties still win. Media still speaks freely and people still vote for change. And then the proposition team said they control everything, the courts, municipalities, the elections. Then the issue is not the family, but the failure of institution. Fix the system, not the surname. After that, the proposition team said that they use unfair campaigns and tactics. Corruption is a separate issue. If anyone breaks the law, dynasty or not, they should be punished. We don't cancel someone's candidacy just because of their bloodline. And then the last one, the proposition team said that power is not distributed equally. Power in politics is never even equally distributed. But democracy gives tools for challengers to rise. Banning dynasties won't magically make politics fair. Only reforms and civic education can do that. So from the start, I've shown that dynasties are not the enemy. Abuse of power is. Voters still have the right to choose, accept or reject dynasties. Political families can contribute to democracy through trust, experience, and continuity. So the solution is not banning dynasties, but improving the system that checks all politicians equally. So let's not fall into the trap of blaming family names when the deeper problems is broken institutions. So at the end of the day, democracy means freedom of choice, not punishments for family background. If I come from a political family and the people still choose me fairly, why should I be punished? That is not democracy, that is bias. So I stand proudly, firmly against the motion. Political dynasties do not always harm democracy.